All right, where do we start, Steve?
I don't know. Peter sent me down here to do energy work 15 years ago. What was that?
Was it me? I'm to blame for that.
Well, in
Eric?
conjunction with your,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt driven to um, work on the grid a bit from your direction.
Yeah, I think it was around Mary Hardy's uh, impulse to work with HARP and changing the frequency uh, transmission down the Front Range.
Hmm.
And she was, the way that she saw it going was, down through Crestone Valley and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want me to give you a little background of what's happening here at the Casa?
Sure, I'd love to get to know you so I could,
Okay.
kind of be able to go from
Yeah.
there.
So we got this commission, 20 years ago by Yeshua to create a healing sanctuary in he didn't say the San Luis Valley, but that's where we ended up. To create this healing center, and it was to be called Casa de Santa Maria. And when I asked, I said, "Well, what about you?" And he goes, "It's for my mother." so, so this is where Mother Mary, well, the Divine Mother, really, but the archetype of Mother Mary, promised her presence to be here with her holy helpers to help people heal. So that's how this all started. Um,
Mhm.
we were led to the San Luis Valley, and long story, but kept being told to come up here. We finally came up here about after 5 months, looking for where we were supposed to create this healing space. Hated it up here because it was 8,000 feet up in the air, and
Yeah.
time we were living in Sedona. And anyway, we got back to Taos, and I was sleeping that night, and I heard Mother Mary's voice. She said, "Surrender to the land." And I said, "Okay."
Mhm.
So by the time we went back to Sedona, I told my husband because we didn't want to live up here. And anyway, I'm trying to make a long story short. We were led to come back up here. When we got home, someone said, "Well, I'll buy the land for you." And we came back up, and the first piece of land we looked at is here, which faces north directly to Mount Blanca.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of thing. So we've been working on this project. We've built this 300-foot diameter prayer meditation garden that has 7 circles around it. I don't know how much you've seen or what show.
I looked at it on Google Earth.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And so then on April 30th of 2022, I'm going out to water grass, and I have a vortex opens up in front of my face. It was a big whirlwind, and there was a white dove in it playing around in the big whirlwind, about, I would say, about 150 feet over that way. I'm not good at directions. And the white dove flies out of the whirlwind, which is not a dirt devil. It was in one spot, comes toward the garden, heads toward Mount Blanca, hits the property line, and goes poof, like into another dimension. And I thought, oh, shoot, we had a portal open up. And so, anyway, I went out and doused it. And as I'm dousing it, I'm not a great dowser, but I doused it. I hear this cheep, 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 and there's a whole flock of birds flying in circles around my head. And I said, "Well, I must have found the spot." So, anyway, we have a portal/vortex that opens up April 30th. Now, Steve gets to tell his story of what happened on May 2nd of this year, 4 years almost to the day that first portal opened up. So, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so yes, I was, as like I said, it's just Saturday uh, a week ago that I was out on the property and I heard a pop behind the house that Susan and Milt are in. And so I looked up and this huge disk of whirling air with dust in it, but controlled like nothing I've ever seen, goes straight out down the road that goes to these campsites that we're going to have tents at. eventually.
So it's heading south. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it that vortex laid down then, so kind of a disc rotating down and swirling clockwise, which is interesting. And
Okay.
um, it goes about 100 yards away, stops in the middle of the road, and then I see a black bird coming out of the center of the bottom of it. And it's flying around in like the dove in Susan's story, only this is a black bird, maybe a crow or something. And it's
Enigmatic.
following us
Wow.
around. And that spinning disc then becomes a funnel, like a, a dust devil funnel, but not because it's just sitting there in place with this bird flying around in it. And then poof, the bird dissipates into a million particles, and so does the vortex. And so that was my experience that matched Susan's only on the south side of the property, and hers was on the north.
Right. So the white dove and the black bird. What was interesting is I was gone shopping that day and I came home. I didn't know Steve's story, and I've been meditating in this vortex for months now, having just some incredible experiences and seeing the sacred geometry and the pyramids and all kinds of stuff. It sort of amplifies any of your unhealed shadow work and that kind of stuff. But I sat down to meditate before I knew what had happened that day. And I was sucked through this tunnel. And I'm traveling and like overland, like over a desert land through a path. And then there's this cave. And I go down into the cave, and the path is taking me further and further down. And I'm seeing obelisks, and I'm seeing underground cities with lights on. I'm seeing people down there. I'm seeing pyramids, just all kinds of things. I mean, this lasted for probably 20, 25 minutes. I just held the space as long as I could because I'm going, I want to see where this goes. I finally ended up at two old ancient doors, and someone opened the doors, and I asked permission to come in, and I went in. And then I came to other doors, and I went through those doors, but it was kind of never ending. Do you know what I mean? There was like no end point. And finally, I just brought myself out of it because I didn't know where I was going. But then it was right after I did that meditation, Steve told me about what had happened. So I correlated the two, understanding that the south vortex is the shadow, the underworld, and the front is the in-breath and the other is the out-breath, so that whatever is under in the subconscious can be transmuted out to, and cleared. So I'm kind of getting the understanding of what's happening here. But that's how the land has responded to us coming to create this breath temple or divine feminine temple here. So
Let me go grab a little visual aid.
okay.
I can still hear you.
And then I'll just mention you should talk about the pyramids and how they were spinning together.
Yes.
And we should mention the um, turkey vultures that flew over us clockwise.
And by the way,
Clockwise, okay.
yeah, clockwise. The vortex at the front spins counterclockwise, and you can feel it. So when you sit down there, your body just rocks in that direction. This does clockwise.
I
Which
bet.
of course,
So it's creating a torsion field of some point, and we found the still point between the two. The line between the two goes right through the event hall we're building. I mean, it just runs straight through the center of the event hall we're building. And the center point, or what I call the still point, is a little bit behind the event hall of where they two merge. So what they're doing is they're two spirals. My friend Sally came, and she's very sensitive to energy. And we walked it the next day, and boy, we just hit these bands of where you could feel the energy spiraling out. bing, bing. You could literally feel it in your body as you walk to the center. Um, so it's doing something. But when I meditate in these things, I keep seeing pyramids, like big time pyramids. And uh, I mean, I saw all kinds of sacred geometry in it, and pyramids,
Yeah.
base, and obelisks, and tetrahedrons, and I don't know if you call them Merkabas or Merkabas, or rotating, or the top spinning on the pyramid.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. So what I'm ready
Cool.
for the visual.
Yeah, thanks for the preamble there. I was just wanted to get it pull out Arc of Ontario.
I read it and someone gave it to me years ago.
Oh, did they? Yeah, great.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was done in 2015.
Uh-huh.
And I work with ley lines and earth rings, which is kind of like the earth ring thing is I don't know, my contribution to the work is looking at ley lines are an alignment of natural and cultural features over a distance. Earth rings are the same thing in the circumference, but they tend to cohere to existing natural forms on the earth. So the earth is this bubbling matrix, if you will, this iridescent bubbling matrix of etheric earth rings, and these earth rings are you can see them in the land by the curvilinear forms you see arcing all over the planet. From the Aleutian Islands to the Arc of California, New Mexico, or Mexico, uh, creating an arc of the continent, and that continent dimension is then replicating the size of the Earth's inner core. So there's this permeation that's coming out of the core and imprinting itself on the film of the lithosphere. But that same dimension is the same dimension as Mars, and there's a lot of other inner core conversations with other planets and sizing of the organic forms of the solar system. So, I look at these Earth rings as, potential foundations for a symbiotic culture that works with planet. My work has been trying to, if Gaia is alive, how is she alive? How is that Sophia? And, how is the Mother Mary in operation, within the planet itself? The Lady of Light that we see appearing all over the planet. We see the mother appearing. We don't see the father appearing. So she seems to be the Hagia Sophia, the holy wisdom, the Holy Spirit, if you will. That so she manifests to us as Holy Spirit, and we get all the messaging from Lourdes and Fatima and in your place as well, just the mother's trying to get informed. The piece of uh, Egypt, I they the Giza plateau is on water. There's a big limestone formation there, and below the Giza, probably those underground structures were all water and filled with water because there's a great deal of that happening in limestone. Limestone generates water dissolves it, so it creates these great reservoirs, and you find that in the south of England. You find that where there's limestone, there's underground caves and water, and so San Luis Valley has this fantastic aquifer underneath it, and so that's that underground feeling of water emerging in looking at I have avoided looking at the pyramid forever because out of fear of insulting people or something, and I would say something sacrilegious about the pyramid. And I ended up doing that, but I guess I knew I was onto something there. But the pyramid is the apex angle of the pyramid up here in the top. That's the bonding angle of the water. So uh, water is trying is that frequency of water is trying to emerge out of the uh, San Luis Valley. It has that impulse of the pyramid has been a constant uh, download that people have been receiving in the San Luis Valley for since the 90s. I believe there was a gal in the 90s trying to get the pink pyramid up there. It ended up becoming that Japanese group. They ended up buying the land that the Pink Pyramid was going to go on. They had town meetings about it, and it was supposed to be this biggest pyramid outside of Egypt. And so, yeah, that pyramid has been kind of emerging from but it's this. I think it's combined with the impulse of Mary that it's this holy wisdom that's trying to emerge out of the land of the San Luis Valley. And you saw this book, Arc of Ontario. So the farthest north point of what I call the San Luis Valley it had a coherent uh, uh, point between on Mount Ontario and then Ute Peak just south of you, just over the border.
Which
So
I lean over, I can look at it out my tent window.
okay. So, from Ute Peak, you have the Vesica Pisces that comes up, which is, the symbol of the mother and the vision, the eye, and just a long conversation around the Vesica Pisces. It's a mother geometry out of that, the whole Merkaba and the Metatronic stuff and the the seed of life geometric. It all comes out of that one form there. So now where you are, it's kind of like that activating spin uh, of that lower vortex, and right over to your west, there's this mountain range that looks like this, like five fingers in the ground, and so it's like the mother is reaching out over towards you.
Hmm.
Uh, there's whenever you see a uh, anthropomorphized uh, piece of man, like in the ground, like a hand, that's like really important to take note of that. That's that's an indicator of the creative force, the work of God, if you will. The hand of God is there, and or the hand of the mother is there, who yeah. So and where you sit is uh, on the back cover of this, it shows where the Beijing Lei comes down through. Where does it come? It comes right by Ontario. Yeah, it doesn't serve it very well.
Okay.
Yeah, but it comes down through Ontario and down through Mount Blanc. Or, yeah, and of course, the Blanca Peak is a vortex in itself.
Mhm.
It has four arms on it, and I can't remember which direction it's spinning in. But that's another. So all around the San Luis Valley, you have these four, physical vortexes. Underwater, underground, you have the water, which is, the water vortex. It's just what water does. Moving between things, and as it touches anything, a vortex is generated. Uh, and then you have the over with the the Great Sand Dunes. That's another vortex of wind that has been there for millennia that brings sand and deposits it there. I remember getting caught in a windstorm there once, and whew, that was something. That was something just could rip your flesh off.
Yep.
But yeah, it's uh, you know, yeah, Mother Mary. So she's I kind of I look when I approach things, I look at what's north, south, east, what the seven sacred directions. What's happening below us, what's above us, and then I look in the directions north, south, east, west, and the east west ones I do follow latitude to see where the attitudes are of that. I look at the planetary latitudes as chakra systems, if you will, and and let's see, you're in the 30s now. Where are you there? 40s, I guess, high 30s, because Boulder is the 40th. So,
Yeah, we're
and then
almost half
yeah,
a city away from that.
yeah. So I look at that aspect of things, where it is in the environmental zones and what other kind of cultures share that same bandwidth on the planet. So, it all gives you information. Then north south, so I look south of there and it goes to Mexico City. So, oh, what's in Mexico City? The Tipiaca and the Guadalupe. So, to me, it gave this message to bring Guadalupe north. And here, Guadalupe is always shown in this Vesica Pisces, the same shape as the San Luis Valley. So, I brought her in and put her head up there at Mount Antero and her feet down at Ute Mountain. And, you got that little guy with the bald head and the wings. That's Steve. I can see him right now. Holding space, there at the foot of the mother, with the great horns of the moon coming off of it. And or the cattle, if you will, yeah, the horns of Moses, the coming off of that. So yeah, it's all a conversation of metaphor. Um, so you are right on the kind of cross axis of the four corner ring. So where you are, the Colorado Plateau.
Mhm.
The arc of the Colorado Plateau is defined, well, I guess it would be over this side, with the San Luis Valley or Sangre de Cristo Mountains forming that arc of uh, coming down the side of the San Luis Valley. That arc shows uh, the Earth ring. That defines the Earth ring of the Four Corners area. So you have the center point, which is uh, shiprock,
Mm-hmm.
the rock with wings, sacred site, so that's like kind of the center point of Navajo sacred cosmology is the shiprock, and then the eastern door is Blanca Peak. So using those two points as a axis and radius, you create this arc and that arc forms, it follows the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, not right down to Santa Fe.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right up against that. So you're in that spin field, if you will. These are all static. Earth rings are static spin. There's visually, physically, they're static, but etherically, emotionally, they're in motion. So So you have this Beijing ley coming in from Beijing, China, over the Aleutian Islands, and then down through Harp, which is where Steve came in, and we're working with this energy that comes down through my geography, through the Tetons, the retreat of the masters, uh, Saint Germain and all else, comes down through Blanca Peak, and then that continues on, curving down to, this is a straight line, if you will, but it goes to um, Tierra del Fuego eventually, in the western coastline of Peru. It visually looks like a straight line. I mean, there's no straight lines in nature, but it has a very straight trajectory that same ley line follows, and it goes through where the Kogi live, who held the spiritual traditions of the Maya people for 500 years in isolation. Uh, they gave us the piece that gold. When you use gold, that connects the worlds. That's why the Inca had so much gold, is because it was his job to connect the world. So they surrounded him with gold so that he'd be better able to do that. So the Kogi have these sacred sites where, there's a great movie. The BBC goes to visit the Kogi, and it's on the internet. And so they would hang these effigies, golden effigies, over these vortex portal sites in order to maintain the world. It's the work of sacred sites is an act of world maintenance. And with us not with the native people not doing their ceremonies, like on sacred sites, and turning these sacred sites into these tourist places, like the Bears Lodge, and which is Devil's Tower, renaming them. You're kind of like suppressing that sacred site, but it's so essential for the for health of the mother. She wants to have a massage every now and then. It's like it's you gotta uh, and it's man's job to do that. So what you're doing there is you're by using these geometries of water that you're putting in place. The 7 point is very implicit in the geometry of water. Uh, and so I kind of do this think holy water thing. And so you're thinking holy water by using that geometric. So by using that seven geometric, you're communicating directly with the body of water below you. And within that uh, conversation of the seven, that's embedded within that molecule of water. And that molecule of water has, two H's, and those two H's are like the axis, or the radius of the common circle of the Vesica Pisces. So, you're working with a fractility of place there, using your intuition in the seven, and it came through, but it was the land speaking to you, you responding to it, and then now the land is responding back to you. So there's a conversation. Whenever you create a sacred site, the earth, comes up and tries to, uh, you know, support that, and it recognizes itself, and you're recognizing itself. It's like, I recognize you. That is just such a powerful thing to say. The guy, I recognize you, and I see you in the land, and I see you underneath my feet, and I see you all around me. And so, and those vortexes, come in to, say, hey, just thank you, and you're able to bring it. You're able to bring the spiritual world into a manifestation of the physical, which is the vortex visualizations. These However that happened, it might have been, a interdimensional spaceship that came in and generated a vortex just to make it, just to give you that confirmation and support that, hey, keep on going and or keep doing this. And, it's hard work. It's lonely work out there in the middle of that area. That's really, hmm, driven through that land. And but so you got that going through, and that Beijing lay, which is it's really the ring of fire, if you will. The Beijing lay follows. If you were to draw a line, it would go all the way around the ring of fire, just inland from the ring of fire. So it's like where it's stable, where the ring of fire becomes stable. So it goes right through from Beijing. It continues southwards and goes through the center point of what uh, the Chinese Earth ring, which the the east coast of China, South China, has this curvilinear form that is resolved to the center point called White Emperor City. There's a vortex that comes out of there, and so it's where the Three Gorges Dam is. So there's, by damming up that river there, it's kind of creating a condition of dampness in China, which generates disease. Dampness is inflammation and disease and such. So, but it goes right down through there to Bangkok at any rate. So you can kind of visualize that how all this action on the east coast of Asia,
Hmm.
uh, and conversely, you're on the edge of that. Rocky Mountains is the far eastern edge of the Ring of Fire. So globally, that I'm just offering you this as a global context that ring, you're working with the Pacific energy more than the Atlantic energy. It's so your spin that you're generating within your own it's kind of I just flashed was like watchworks. So you have those rings going click, 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 and then you have the Sangre de Cristo Mountains right there that you're right next to going click, well, clockwise. Uh, it does spin clockwise there. I can't remember there's a suggestion in the land that points to a clockwise spin. And that turns. So that turning then turns the Pacific Ring. That is uh, the Ring of Fire, the Beijing Lei. So you just have this. When you get a vortex spinning at where you are, that vortex is uh, is amplified as an etheric gearing of the greater planetary sphere. So, so you got the Ring of Fire, and that's, you got a whole planet there. You're really, uh, have an opportunity you can draw on that. You can draw on that telluric power of the inner Earth, uh, and that's really what the pyramid does. What we see in the pyramid is just the little tip of the world pyramid sticking out of the sand, and that if you follow the surfaces of the Great Pyramid down through the planet and project it into where it comes out on the surface. Most of the points are all in water, except for one, which is down there where all the psychedelic people are down in Mexico, in Durango. What are they called? The Wazaris, I think. They eat a lot of mushrooms, and they have this antlered god that they dance to, and they do this incredible beadwork that they see in their there on peyote ceremonies. Uh, so they're very, very famous for their beadwork. Uh, let's see, I have some of it around here somewhere. But uh, if you take this down, the sides of the pyramid down, which again is, water, and you follow the base of it follows right across, and where it lies is the inner core sits right on the bottom of the pyramid. So that's the fire in the middle. So when you work with this pyramidal energy that you're speaking of, you're going down into the planet and like holding that fire at your base of your world pyramid of whatever of your consciousness field that you're working with. And this applies anywhere on the planet, wherever you know wherever you adjust the pyramid from, it always references the inner core of the planet.
Well, here's the interesting thing is that through downloads I've received from my oversoul, there's a silent pyramid sitting underneath the San Luis Valley that connects to the Giza Plaza.
Yeah. Steve said that, and I was trying to make sense of that. I'm sure there's a reality to it, I'm sure, but maybe we can ferret it out in this conversation what that's all about.
Well, yeah, my sense or feeling is it's not a physical pyramid, it's an etheric pyramid
Mm-hmm.
that sits under the valley that is, and the way I was shown, because I see in my mirror or my inner world, when we were connecting the two, they sit base to base. Does that make sense? They go out this way.
Like a tetrahedron type of thing, or
Yeah,
like a
like the apexes are here and here. This one is etheric. This one, the real one is the physical one is the masculine. This holds the feminine one, the shadow world, the subconscious world, and so they meet together at the base or they're connected. And so they're kind of like our two vortexes. The
mm-hmm.
the Tao, the Tao symbol or the Tao symbol of black,
Mm-hmm.
white, shadow, light. It's the same thing, only this is the silent one that you don't see, whereas the one in the Giza Plaza is the physical one, if that makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
it manifests as a physical one here. It manifests as an etheric one holding the divine feminine counterpart to the masculine one on Giza Plaza. That's my understanding of what it is. So then whenever I've meditated in that vortex, what's been coming up is past life or unrealized grief from past lives of having done this earth work and collapse coming in or distortion coming in, and have been doing this for lifetimes, trying to bring back the balance of the feminine and the masculine, because the feminine has been suppressed. Hope all that makes sense. That's just what came out of my mouth.
Yeah. I mean, geometrically, that doesn't match up. Geophysically, that doesn't match up. Because if Giza Plateau's here, which is the center of the landmass of the planet,
Mm-hmm.
the opposite point is the center of the water mass of the
Mm-hmm.
planet. So it's down in the South Pacific, and so
Would that
that's
be where Easter Island is?
no, but Easter Island is the center of another Earth ring.
Yeah,
Uh,
because see, they're telling me evidently all of this has created where my understanding is my job in this lifetime is to anchor monad breath spirals. So like they'll write out to, and I've been doing this for 30 years, they'll write out for me in my head like a third eye chalkboard, go to this
yeah,
place, go to this place, go to this place. So now I'm being called to go to Isetti Ranch. I don't know if you've heard of that in
yeah,
Trout Lake,
Washington.
Washington, to stabilize the monad spiral that's there, the monad breast spiral that's there. And I'm being called to do these things and reawaken the crystals in underneath Easter Island that was once Molokai,
Okay.
Lemuria.
Okay.
And all I'm doing is following
Yeah.
what I think is my oversoul telling me that's what I've come here to do. And these awakening at the Casa is sort of like a stabilizing monad breast spiral that I've merged with, that now I take that frequency or energy of the heart, the divine feminine, and go reawaken or stabilize these other breath nodes on the planet.
Yep. Yeah. Do you know, have you made contact with Mia out there? Maya?
No. Mm-mm.
No. I can't pronounce her last name. She has some spiritual last name that's quite long and new to something or other. I can't remember how to pronounce it. But she's she's been a channel since she was been an infant, pretty much, and she's had a very challenged life, a lot of physical problems. But she got the information that the Ark of On, which used to be, which is the kind of like On is the Anna and that whole the healer the healer woman uh, energy. So the Ark of On, which is the kind of arc of feminine power, if you will, was held in Sinai for
Mm.
which Sinai is part of the temple complex of the Great Pyramid. It's one of the he's been one of the spin wheels around it, and so that moved to Crestone Peak. Uh, I think in the year 2000 or a little bit before, or 2020. No, it's before that. He was in the teens, somewhere in the teens. But that feminine seating is occurring there in the valley. And, my response to it is, the Arc of Ontario book. Mia has her own, and your response. So that this divine feminine, the Sophia, Hagia Sophia, is present there, and her presence is growing seemingly and getting stronger and having more of a context and relationship. Uh, the water, it's got to have water underneath it to be a sacred site. Uh, just because of the just the telluric dynamics. You need water is essential for everything. It's like water is out in over. I digress, but out in the Orion's Nebula, which is on the belt of Orion. Uh, and nebula is an exploded sun. We're in the third iteration of exploding suns. We've exploded, coalesced. So we're in the third level of that. That's why we have rare minerals now are available, and gold is available more. So that's stimulating the connection with divine. So we have the right mineral content in order to do it, and that ring of the gold and silver that's in the line, up to your north, all that gold and silver up there and lead and all those high, like those minerals of the Rockies are all, part of your whole matrix and context and fuel for your spiritual energy to be broadcast through and connected from divine into our dimension. But you spoke of going to SETI, and this is where it plays into my whole gestalt of where SETI Ranch is on the on the let's see now, 110. No, no, that's not 110. Yeah, it's 110. I can't remember the exact longitude, but the series of mountains going up the Cascades are a north-south alignment. And that's unusual. Usually it's at an angle one way or another. Ley lines tend to be at an angle to north-south. But there's one mountain range that's north-south, two mountain ranges. The Cascade Mountains and the Ural Mountains over on the other side of the planet. So you go over the globe and kind of like like level with the Cascade Mountains right through the planet. They come out in the Urals, which are this mountain is north-south mountain range that runs about 1,000 miles from the Arctic Circle uh, down to nearly Ukraine. So that that's what I'm working with right now.
Mm.
With I was alerted to a ley line many years ago, back in 2010, of this line of dissonance. I call the Silk Road ley that has uh, Ashkelon, Israel, Jerusalem, Amman, Jordan, Baghdad, uh, Fordo, Iran, where they bombed a couple of months ago. Uh, Goes through Kabul, Afghanistan, Islamabad, goes through the two conflict zones on either end of the Himalayas, and then over to Hong Kong. So that Silk Road ley that comes across has been traveled by a myriad of would-be conquerors, emperors, from Alexander to Khan, and everybody's been through there. Now the American imperialists are in there fighting away, but that line is a cursed line that comes out of it comes out of Egypt. The Ashkelon was a city that was worshiping uh, Baal, who was a water god, and they would sacrifice the firstborn children to this water god for to bring rain because they, even back then they were getting pretty parched after they cut down all the cedars of Lebanon. Uh, yeah, I digress again. But so this, I said, well, how can I heal this? Well, Jesus was in the neighborhood. Maybe we can call on him to get some help. And so I finally looked at the life of Jesus. Again, it's like, oh, if you want to create enemies, like start talking about Jesus in a way that's not accepted. So, I'm blending paganism, ley lines and such, which is associated with paganism, but it's just patterns, pattern recognition. And so the two big events, baptism and crucifixion, create an alignment. So I started, okay, that must be significant. And so anything that like a God man type of deal, would have more than that. It would project out to include something else. If this is really, miraculous man here that was doing this thing, there should be a connection with what came before him, specific to, like the consciousness and the development of the soul. So I followed that eastward and came to Mount Kailash. Now, Mount Kailash is this mountain in far western Tibet that is honored by five different religions. And, it's where Buddha's Nirmanakaya went to after his enlightenment. That's where, um, on that Wesak, that's where the Buddha and Jesus, come together, uh, is in Mount Kailash. So Mount Kailash is, those 2 points are the two places that are honored by multiple religions around the world. So, okay, there's this like frequency of coalescence, that I can draw on. And if I extended it out farther than Kailash, there wasn't any connective points out that way of religious or so it's an end point. So you have these two points. And again, out beyond Jerusalem, there's not much out that direction either. It just kind of goes off into the ocean and circles around into the water. So I took that as an as the radius for the Vesica Pisces. You got Mount Kailash and Jerusalem, and then you create the two arcs, and you generate the Vesica Pisces. So I was thinking that it was Jesus that would bring the healing. So I was kind of like visualizing, the ascended Christ in that Vesica Pisces, which is often depicted emerging from that. But and I'd have written this whole thing up and trying to explain this vision I had of this alignment and how to heal this forever war that's been going down there for forever. And I'm seeing the work of the archons and the demiurge, within this serpent form, and so it's like, how do we take care of this? This is like puppet master stuff, and they're just feeding off of our negative emotions, and uh, so we have this uh, structure now in which to place something, defined by these two mountains. So, and in between those two, you need further support than that. And in between those two is where Zarathustra took down Ahura Mazda came down to him as a light, as Asha, as goodness, and that the Magi moved that energy out to Jerusalem, with Jesus and everything. And then on the way they went through this little town called Babylon, and Ezekiel had this whole vision of wheels and the bones coming alive. It's one of the most colorful the pieces of the Old Testament. And he's speaking of these wheels and these skeletons that come alive and die and come alive, and that's kind of like the forever war, and it's just all played into it. So I thought I had completed the whole article and that I was writing, and I was sitting there quite smug, and then Mary started showing up everywhere in my daily life, and I started thinking, well, yeah, this is, yeah, I mean. Yeah, of course, Uh, so, I'm looking at this icon of Guadalupe placed within this Vesica Pisces. So that this arc goes up to the uh, of this Vesica Pisces, Kailash, Jerusalem, comes up here to the uh, northern tip of the northern point of the Ural Mountains.
Hmm.
So the center line of this uh, Vesica Pisces, these 2 points are on the same latitude, by the way, Jerusalem and Kailash. So that makes the center line a longitudinal telluric uh, vortex, like the planetary toroidal field and all those sacred geometries associated with that. But that comes out and over into SETI. So by you going to SETI with the Mary frequency, you're supporting that work that I'm doing by entraining that mountain, the frequencies of the Cascades to transmit over to the Urals. Now,
I'm
now, now
getting
that
chills. I'm getting chills.
me too. But right at that point, at the northern point of the Jesus alignment vesica, is the Arctic Circle, and that's where they exploded the Zarabumba, Zarbumbo, or the Tsar's bomb, which
Mhm.
was back in '59. They blew off this hydrogen bomb there that was like the biggest bomb ever exploded, and it was an atmospheric test. And because of that, they stopped the atmospheric tests. And but it's a, it's this, it's this impulse. It's all kind of orchestrated to suppress the Christ impulse from coming into our hearts, into the world. So, this warfare of the Silk Road lay is hanging right over the Jesus alignment, suppressing that 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 the soul from attaining its soul spirit incarnation. Because when we do reach full soul function, it's all over with for the demiurge. They just can't affect us because we're feeling the pain of everyone else, and we don't want to feel that way anymore. It's like we want to stop this type of thing. So with having that anti-light at the top, at the light point of it, where all the the uh, aurora borealis comes out of the planet, all those iridescent colors are, that light of God and everything coming out of our crown chakra, our planetary crown chakra. It's what's it was like, let's destroy this light. Let's put a half light in there. So that's been that's been a suppressive thing, and that's kind of like also something you should be very aware of, that you're mending that rift in the space time that happens when atomic bombs are blown, and that rift in space time, doesn't have sacred sites up there. People work in sacred sites that are they're trying to mend that discordance. When you go south, you come south through the where Zarathustra did his work, and then the south point of this Vesica Pisces ends up being on the equator.
Hmm.
So it ties in with the planetary body, with the Gaia, with the Sophia, and all that, and that's where it zeroes out, is down on the western edge of the Indian Ocean geode low,
Hmm.
which is this place of lack of gravity. There's like a suppression of 350 feet in the water of the oceans right there because of lack of gravity.
Hmm.
Somehow, it isn't pushing out, it's pushing in or sucking in. So there's this mm, kind of like anti-gravity there. So it's walking on water kind of thing, kind of energy there. But it's down in the Seychelles, where it's under, and its point is on the undersea mounts of Coco de Mer. And the Coco de Mer coconut is named after the Coco de Mer coconut, which is the only, it grows, it's the largest seed on the planet, largest seed on the planet, and that the vesica is a seed form, and so right here at the bottom, you have this coconut seed that's like this big, and it looks like a woman's bottom. It has these two lobes that come around like a butt, and vagina there, and it's this wild thing. It doesn't have any hollows on the inside, so it doesn't grow anywhere else. It evolved in this one island, and nowhere else. Uh, when the sailors found it, it's like, oh, this must be an aphrodisiac, And they so they because it's not hollow inside, it doesn't float. If it touches seawater, it dies. So it can't float like a regular coconut off and then seed somewhere else. It just, you know, drops at the bottom of the ocean. Uh,
Hmm.
so that's down there. So it has that bifurcated thing that, like where the torus fields of the planet come together on the equator. You have these two torus fields that come out and on either side. It's kind of like a donut, and then you have vortexes that shift there from one direction to the other. I can't remember which. The Coriolis effect generates these spins. So like our our tropical storms that come across are counterclockwise. Is that right? Counterclockwise, and the ones down south are clockwise. Their hurricanes are clockwise. So you get this two thing going on like that. So
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but that's what I came up with.
Well, I'll keep you posted on what happens at ESETI because,
Good.
like I said, I'm being sent there They don't leave me. My inner world doesn't leave me alone till I go.
Yeah.
And so what this has taught me here is with the vortexes here and anchoring, because it is connected to the grid, the what's happening here is definitely going out into the grid.
Hmm.
And that kind of thing. And even though like the pyramids don't meet bottom to bottom, I still think they're connected here. I still
Yeah.
something is going on here holding a frequency for another place on the planet, if that makes sense. I hadn't figured it out. All of this is new to me, although all of it is old to me, because
Yeah.
evidently I've been doing this work for
Yeah.
eons since the earth was first seeded, and the Lemurians came,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
which I think were Lyran, I'm not for sure, from Lyra. And now a bunch of us, including you, are back
Yeah.
to
Yeah. We're trying to
heal the
remember.
distortions, on the, and to reawaken the Mother Earth, back into the planet, which has been suppressed, destroyed, distorted, whatever.
Yeah. Toxic masculinity is phew, needs some balance.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
time.
So we're as mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, with SETI, like this, any conversation about SETI, and the UFOs and everything like that, the next breath is Crestone Valley.
Mm,
So so SETIs, they're the UFO people are, they're geomancers. They're going around healing the earth and
mm,
maintaining the earth. So they're seeing over sacred sites, in south of England. They're over there trying to, with the crop circles. My piece on that is that they're trying to change the frequency of time
mm,
because of the prime meridian there
mhm.
and and then English worldview and all that. But so yeah, the space brotherhood are at work at both those places because it's it's significant, and of course that Mount Adams is right there by SETI, and that's one of the homelands of the forest people. They've been known to. I mean, historically, the Mount Adams was their capital city,
Mhm.
essentially. It's like the Indians and don't go there. It
Mhm.
was,
Yeah, I've been there before, and the frequency field is just incredible there.
yeah,
It's just tremendous there. So it's going to be interesting to see going back with a different me after all the work I've been doing and what I'm being led to do, to see how it feels, the frequency field feels there as well. But it's pretty strong there.
yeah.
It's a powerful.
Oh yeah, you're you're
Forest
you're linked
mystic is
with
coming
the
through.
core there.
Correct. Interesting. Yeah. And then the other commission that I'm supposed to do is link it with Mulukai. To
Hawaii,
Huh?
that's Hawaii, Molokai.
No, Easter Island,
Ah,
old Lemurian, where Lemuria sank during the collapse of, and old, like the High Council went into distortion, ego and power, and it collapsed that society, and the crystals went underneath the water.
hmm.
And so I'm supposed, what one of my roles is to reawaken those, which held the fifth dimensional consciousness field for the planet when we all had crystalline bodies and that kind of thing, which is what we're reawakening now back to, which then got all distorted. I mean, I don't understand
Yeah.
all of this yet. It's all new to me, but I'm slowly piecing it together.
Yeah, the Easter, one of my latest works and what I have to, get to next on the list is the Encyclopedia of Earth Rings. And And I went on the premise that if North America has this Earth ring that's the size of the Earth's core and Mars, and well, it can't be the only one. So I started to look for shape forms around the planet, and I came up with 12 that would that match that dimension. And one of them is centered on Easter Island, and kind of continuing this ring of fire
Hmm.
conversation that we have going around goes down to Antarctic, where
Hmm.
the Tierra de Fuego and the Antarctic island, Sandwich Islands are right there. It
Hmm.
comes right through there. Uh, you know, that's uh, that's the Ring of Fire. Right in the middle of that, the Ring of Fire is, I can't remember. No, I haven't looked at what the diameter of the Ring of Fire is yet. But right there in the middle, there's the Mars size um, uh, Earth ring, Earth core size ring centered on uh, yeah, yeah, trying to geographically get, but it's there right in the middle of that ring of fire.
Hmm. Hmm.
So uh, you know when it, whenever you have one of these things, the center point
Hmm.
identifies fractally with the center of the Earth.
Hmm.
So in the center of the Earth is a crystal. That's
Right.
right. It's like a 350-mile wide crystal inside the 1,400-mile inner core. So you got this all this pressure and heat generating this creating this. I think it's I think they even I think they even came up with the shape of it. It's one of Plato's solids, but uh, working with Easter Island crystal, that's what comes to mind with my conversation of things.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm being called to go do is work with that crystal. Probably on their summer solstice, our winter solstice. And I'm going to Yosemite on the summer solstice. And
Okay.
so
Yeah, it's going to be a different world by that time.
I know.
Steve, you had something on the edge of your tongue there. What were you going to say?
Oh, just mentioning how Susan is living the forest mystic life and how that ties in.
One of
The
my
forest.
lifetimes was living in England in the forest. So
Uh, yeah, it's like they send us here, with Alzheimer's.
I know. And don't you hate
We
that?
can't remember anything.
But what this
What's up with that?
back to this vortex, what it's done, it's opened in me a lot of memory, not memory of the lifetimes, but the feelings of grief of working so hard and having it destroyed
Oh, yeah.
so many lifetimes. And so the grief is coming back of standing on Molokai and trying to not allow that um frequency, the lower frequency coming in and not being able to hold it with the group of people, and or the temples being torn down in Egypt, and the old guard coming in, and it's been lifetime after lifetime of working so hard to hold the frequency for the planet and it not happening. You know what I mean? So that it's brought up all this grief, this whatever opened here coming through, not remembering the life buttons, but knowing I'm grieving. We've been working so hard to hold the frequency, the divine light frequency for the planet, and it getting disrupted and distorted and pulled down it. And it's like there's so many of us here trying to reset the planet back to the original intention of what she was
Yeah.
supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but we can't do it by ourselves. We need the
no,
collective field. We need
correct.
the field to support it.
Yeah.
And if you have, like a lot of the, the people who are able to carry consciousness engaged in warfare, feeding the archons, then it's yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and even the archons
hard.
attack the spiritual
Oh yeah,
world and break it down, and then it goes into spiritual ego and
yeah. That's the best luge is the spiritual community.
yeah.
That they feed off of. It's kind of a necessary task to you can imagine, like the power of the human emotion and that being released into the world, into the field consciousness of the planet. If we didn't have something like an archon coming in and chewing up that extra stuff, getting rid of that garbage, we would just be in this
Soup.
soup
Bloody
of
soup.
muddy soup. So, their work was important for the maintenance of the planet. I think that's why they were brought here initially, interdimensionally, was to take care of this. Because it's like ETs have bred out emotion because it's so problematic. But in the process of breeding that out, they've lost connection with divinity because you need
Right.
emotion to connect with
Right.
God.
Right. Agreed.
Uh, so that's our work, is, in this foundational 3D level is to bring this into, bring it back into our galactic community.
Mhm.
But these, the trouble starts is that the archons, well, it tastes pretty good and we can make more of this, can't we? So let's, so they started stimulating, through warfare, they started stimulating the production of luge. And then it became, it was such a valuable commodity that they started, selling it intergalactically. And, everybody wants this luge and generated by these humans. So, okay, well, we got a supply, we got a demand, so
Crack cocaine for them.
you're right. So the lizards, the reptilians, who are motionless, uh, this is the closest they can get to emotion,
Hmm.
is eating what is the garbage of humanity, I guess, uh, that what we uh, release in our throes of death, or from what I understand, this quite, bat battle scenes are quite horrific on the other side, and spiritually, uh, with all these archons coming in.
Well, Peter, we'll let you go, and we thank you so much. I got a lot to chew on now. My brain's gonna have to
Yeah, yeah, okay. You got enough?
hear it. Yeah, it's gonna have to chew on this a while.
Yeah,
And
go.
Steve's got to get the Alamosa, and I got to feed my hubby. But
All
yeah,
right.
if anything pops in, let us know, and I'll
Yeah,
keep posted on the adventures here.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm available most anytime.
well, we appreciate it, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a fascinating journey as we move forward.
Really
So,
appreciate you reaching out.
yeah,
Yeah, I think this was an important connection to be made, and I think it's also connected to Conrad
Uta.
uh, and
Yeah.
Uta.
Okay, cool. All
Good
right.
work,
Well,
kids. Keep it
have a
up.
wonderful day, and we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Bye for now.
Uh-huh.
Bye.